One of the things I'm often asked about in guitar lessons is how I set up my guitar sounds. I don't use the traditional way of doing things in my guitar lessons. I don't have combos and amplifiers in the actual teaching room. Firstly, because they're quite bulky. They take up a fair bit of room, and secondly, it's kind of difficult to control the volume, so I want to be able to be in control of the volume of everything that's going on within the context of a guitar lesson, and to be able to control things. Otherwise things can get out of hand pretty quick. So a number of people have asked me what it is I use as a system, so I'm just going to go over it briefly and show you a few examples of things that you could possibly use that would be of use to you perhaps. So first things first, I use something called Line 6 Pod Farm. Well, I use 2.5, which I'm going to show you on the screen in just a second. In order to access the piece of software, I use this device, which is a Line 6 GX tone port, which Line 6 probably won't appreciate me telling you that I bought this on eBay for about 20 something pounds. It was second hand, it's a bit dirty, it works absolutely fine for what I want. Basically it just acts as an external sound. It's the Line 6 tone port GX. They do a variety in the range. This was relatively cheap, inexpensive, second hand on eBay. So that connects via USB to my PC. You could do exactly the same thing connecting it to a laptop, just a USB connection. And there's a headphone socket out, or line out, which I run off to over here. I have a little Behringer mini mixer which runs into a Cambridge Audio power amp, which runs out to, in my particular case, 4 high quality hi-fi speakers, sort of studio monitoring type things. This desk allows me to run numerous things. In my particular case, you can see the red cables here. These run off to what's called my this is my M box for using Pro Tools. I set the other one on top there. That has a stereo out. I have a stereo out here, which is from the Line 6 GX, and I have another stereo out which comes out of the stereo out of the back of my PC. This mixer allows me to run the output from my PC in terms of sounds, iTunes, where I have my backing tracks and so forth, and the Line 6 software, so they're running completely separately, and I mix the volume levels between the two. The power amp just gives me the volume within the room. So let's now have a look at the Line 6 software so you can see what I'm talking about. So if we start with looking at the Pod Farm 2 here, we can initially see the interface, which is this part here. I've bought all the expansion packs you have, so I have everything they pretty much have available to myself, because I use it in the lessons extensively, and I want the flexibility. So what we have to begin with is the basic layout is this little window. On the top here we have guitar amps, bass amps, preamps, cabs, distortions, dynamics, filters, mods, delays, reverbs, wahs and EQ as a little setting. So for a basic sound you want to start off with something fairly straightforward. Somewhere around here should be a default setting, but it looks like I can't find it. So we'll start with something fairly basic. Day Tripper, so I often use one in the lessons because it's one of the RGT tubes. Now on this particular one, this is the part that we're interested in down here for a second. I use what's called a 2 amp chain, which means I can run 2 separate amplifiers simultaneously, and in this case it's exactly the same line, just to give me a bit more volume within the room. This is an AB and an A plus B switch, which means we use one channel switch across to the other amp. You can hear how it sounds exactly the same, or both amps together. Just a bit thicker, a bit fuller sounding. But the nice thing about this is that I don't necessarily just have to have, in this particular case, it's modelling a Vox AC30 top boost. I could change that amplifier in this particular case to be a 1964 Blackface Fender Deluxe, which has kind of changed the tone of everything. Now if I wanted then to play with this amplifier, I've then got all the controls, so I could pull out the middle, pull off the treble, pull off the bass even. Kind of thinning it all out, bring the drive up, bring the volume up on the amplifier. So we can kind of hear that that's a slightly, so there's similar amplifiers essentially, but I could come down here then and with this amplifier, pull up this interface and go for a variety of amplifiers. As I say, I've bought all the packs. If I wanted a 2003 Marshall J2000 amplifier, I'd have it there. All of a sudden the cab would appear. We go. Far more gritty. Now if I A-B that, you can hear that the B amplifier, which is the AC30, sounds like, the A amplifier sounds like, and I can blend the two together, which is going to give me limitless kind of amplifier combinations. J9 Marshall J900, JCM 900, a clean and a distorted one. It's the silver anniversaries. So there's a whole bunch of Marshall stuff, old plexi heads, Cali Crunch is a kind of an early boogie idea. Orange amps, Vox amps. This is my own personal preference for most things, purely because it's based off a Cornford MK50, and I own a Cornford MK50 anyway. So I kind of like that tone. You've got diesel amps, diesel sun. So we could have a whole bunch of metally kind of things here, but the AC30 kind of putting a clarity to it. So this is kind of what I use in lessons, these ideas. The main reason I use it in lessons is, say I'm doing a specific song, I have most of the tones already pre-done. So if I was, for instance, this is down as Money for Nothing. It's kind of the tone I want's already there. I could pull up, what's this, Don't Fear the Reaper. Pretty much gets me into the tone of the tune straight away, so I can be playing the riff and it will start to take on the overall feel of everything. And there's lots and lots of different tones available online that you can just download, or you can have fun just messing around making your own. I'm just looking for some interesting ones here that might catch your eye. Highway to Hell. That's just on the one amp. If I was to dual that up, which is just to copy it, make it a bit thicker. So it's kind of thickened the sound of that up. Other little things that are on here that are fun is you can add just say you don't think there's enough distortion coming off this Marshall Plexi 100 head. There's a variety of well-known distortion pedals. For instance, this is based off a Rat pedal. This is an old fuzz face like Hendrix would use. I think that's the Electro Harmonix one. Octave fuzzes, so very Hendrixy. So I'll put that on there. Pull up this. fan of using something like that. This is based off the old Ibanez Tube Screamer. So with it, we've got this kind of bite to the amp. Take it off. And you can mess around with those to your heart's content. And you don't want the amp, the pedal that you put on there, just pull it off. You can then go along through the array here. There's like a big carousel unit. Finding what you do want. You can have compressors. You might want to put some really funky auto wahs or whammy pedals or synthy kind of stuff. You can put all kinds of mad res synth. Very sort of weird and out there noises, ring modulators, all this kind of stuff, sub octaves if you want to get into some very silly behaviour. The other thing you have on here, because of the way this is all chained up on the screen, you can put the effects where you want them. So at the moment I'm playing this effect pre the whole amplifier setup. If I wanted to put it to its effects loop and have a different kind of... I don't know if you can hear that there, but it has changed the way that the sound is. And that's certainly more noticeable with things like we come down here to the choruses, like an old analog chorus, stick it at the front. I'm just going to turn off one of those. You can hear that the chorus sounds one way. If I put it into where would be the effects loop, kind of cleans it up nicely, to my ear at any rate. You've got all your usual stuff, tremolos, flangers, talk boxes, phasers, all the classic phasers, so like the old MXR Phase 90s, Leslie speakers and drums and so forth, all the things that you'd love to have but can't necessarily fit into a room. Univibes, so if I want to become very Hendrixy. Very Hendrixy in its tone. And then it takes me on to delays, and all the different delays are there. Analog delays but with modulations, old tape echoes, old Roland echo effects. So you can get all the effects that you've probably heard, the old tape echoes again. And then onto reverbs, different kinds of reverbs. So just about everything you've ever been looking for is probably here. On top of that, you've got a tuner. Very accurate, very cool, like that a lot. This works as a plug-in if you're using Pro Tools or any of the other recording DAWs. I think it's a rather splendid piece of software, and I thoroughly recommend it.